Welcome to Snyder's Inc., where the fun never ends. Reactions, gaming, and more with Josh as your friend. Tune in, buckle up, it's a ride you don't wanna miss. Snyder's Inc., let's dive in, feel the ultimate bliss.
Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today we got a wrestling reaction for you, and this is 10 greatest rivals, top 10 greatest rivals of Rey Mysterio's career. And we're gonna get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the like button, subscribe button, comment, thing down below. Let's go.
Jumping out of the sky, Rey Mysterio, here we go. Booyaker Booyaker 619. How WWE's biggest little man can still be cranking out top-notch performances in 2023 at the age of 48 is a question that can only be answered by NASA-level scientists, but one that can be appreciated by all. Considering Rey has been wrestling since he was 13 years old, the amount of high-quality rivalries he has been a part of is quite plentiful, and so today we will induct him into the ranks of great wrestlers who have had their careers analyzed through the lens of greatest rivalries lists on Parts Fun Known, the true mark of an all-time great wrestler. You keep waiting, we'll get to your favorite wrestler someday, and if your favorite wrestler is Rey Mysterio, well then you clicked on the right video. I'm Tempest hailing from Parts Fun Known, and these are the 10 greatest rivals of Rey Mysterio's career. But before we get on with this list, please make sure that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun list just like it. And make sure you check out the finals of the Fantasy Booking Warfare Tournament as I take on Ollie Davis as we book the Shield Triple Threat match. Number 10, Edge. When I watched my...
When did them two have a rivalry? I'm trying to think, were you 09? I feel like it had to have been 08, 09, something like that, probably.
very first wrestling show, the January 25th SmackDown in 2008, for those keeping score, Rey Mysterio was feuding with Edge over the World Heavyweight Championship. So maybe there's a bit of nostalgia talking, but this rivalry sandwich between two tag runs in 2002 and 2022 has always stood out as one of the better main event rivalries of Rey's career. He didn't get to win the big match in this one, as was unfortunately the case with a lot of his WWE rivalries, but he was a great choice to oppose the Edge and Vicky Guerrero snogfest given his relationship with the Guerrero family, especially as Vicky descended further and further into unlikability. Add in the extra context of Edge and Rey's history as tag champions, and you had an absolute metric ton of history to pull from, and they did, resulting in a particularly fun match with a great finish at the 2008 Royal Rumble. Anytime Edge could spear someone out of midair, he would, and it gave us a reason to see Edge and Rey cross paths again and again, especially in Elimination Chamber matches in 2009 and 2011, further proving the excellent chemistry between them could stand the test of time and also many, many surgeries. Number 9, Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah. He's one of Rey's best rivalries, isn't it? Dominic, such a good, natural, obnoxious, unlikable little bastard. You just wanna punch him in his stinking nose and break it. There's nothing tops Dom, is there? He's just one of the best things that will never get the credit and respect he deserves.
Think it would happen, but the chicken finger loving adopted son of Rey Mysterio harassed his family enough times and got arrested and became an interesting character. Rey had spent over a decade saying that one day he wanted to wrestle his son, and when Dom turned on his dear old dad at Clash at the Castle, the enthusiasm toward that match was fairly low. But by WrestleMania 39, you could argue that Dom was the most hated heel in all of WWE. While Rey's reluctance to fight his son may have worn thin with some, the amount of time we all had to wait for Dom to finally get the spanking he had always been missing for his entire life made the moment all the sweeter when Rey finally gave in to the urge to beat his son's ass. God, I don't like how the storyline sounds reading it back. Their match at WrestleMania was pretty gosh darn great, and you could argue maybe Rey's best Mania match period, even if there was a rogue cereal mascot at ringside. For a match as important to the Mysterio family as this clearly was, to see it turn out so well is the most heartwarming example of corporal punishment you will probably ever see. Number 8, Juventud Guerrera. Alright,
this is some old school stuff I don't know a thing of, but I will say I will have always an appreciation for Juventud Guerrera. Oh, I love Juventud. Watching him is fun. I love watching myself some Juventud Guerrera. Hoovy!
Enough about WWE for a bit, because it should come as no surprise that many of Rey's best matches and rivalries came before his time in the land of the Giants. There were many settings and locations and promotions responsible for Rey Mysterio becoming a household name in wrestling, and the further back in history you look, the more frequently you will see the name Juventud Guerrera paired with Rey's. There were a lot of reasons why Juvi didn't reach the same level of success of his luchador peers, but it wasn't for his lack of talent. Talent that was on full display anytime he and Rey got in the ring together, whether it was in ECW, WCW, or AAA. There are literally dozens of matches one could point to highlight Rey and Juvi's chemistry, but I will take the easy way out and say if you haven't seen their match from ECW's Big Ass Extreme Bash, you are missing out on possibly the best match of Mysterio's career. It's his only 5-star match, if you care about that sort of thing, but my god, does it ever earn that distinction. Number 7, Prince Puma. Oh, Lucha Underground, you magical...
I forgot Rey was in Lucha Underground. I completely, absolutely forgot Lucha Underground was a thing. I forgot Rey especially was in it. He's the one I mainly... Alright, you got my attention.
Mystical wrestling unicorn of a promotion. We didn't quite know how short-lived the golden years of Lucha Underground were going to be when we were watching it, but my god, they sure were golden, weren't they? Rey Mysterio has spoken very highly of his time in the promotion and the ovations he received from the more intimate audience in attendance, and there may be no match Rey had in the promotion that received a greater ovation than the culmination of his story with Prince Puma in the Season 2 finale. Puma was the golden boy of the promotion, one who may or may not have gone on to great success after embracing his secret identity, but at this point, facing Mysterio was a dream match of epic proportions that most certainly delivered on that status, and a proper example of Rey being portrayed as the legend he is. If wrestling as a whole ever adopted a seasonal format, we should all hope that the season finale would be even nearly as fantastic as this match was.
This is actually a match I wish I could see. This sounds like a match should be fun to watch. Rey versus Prince Puma / Ricochet.
Number 6, CM Punk.
This should be way higher. This should be way higher. I'm curious who else is on this list, because this is amazing. This rivalry is good. I love this rivalry. How is this at number 6?
And back to WWE we go, for the storyline so good that it made Child Tempest like CM Punk again after he cashed in Money in the Bank on Jeff Hardy. The Straight Edge Society run of CM Punk was maybe the best character work of his WWE career, and after the group's formation, the best rivalry Punk had was with Rey Mysterio. Unhappy with being eliminated in the Elimination Chamber, Punk ruined young Aaliyah Mysterio's birthday by creepily singing to her, the kind of behavior that gets your ass beat at WrestleMania, and so began the run of 3 straight pay-per-views in 2010 with very good CM Punk vs. Rey Mysterio matches, all with varying stakes until Mysterio finally came out on top and shaved Punk's head at Over the Limit. This all was a brilliant piece of business with heavy input from Punk himself, but I also want to highlight their one-off match at Capital Punishment a year later. Far less story to it, but maybe the best match the two had together in WWE. A hidden gem on a largely forgettable pay-per-view, but a fantastic stamp to put on one of Mysterio's best WWE rivalries to date. Number 5, Dean Malenko. It was virtually impossible to have a bad match with Dean Malenko if you were a cruiserweight in the 90s.
Fair. There's always that one in any promotion, right? You'll look at that one promotion and go, you will have to be very bad to have a bad match with them.
Dean may be more closely linked to the likes of Chris Jericho because of Jericho's iconic promos, or Eddie Guerrero because of their famous ECW matches, but in the case of Rey Mysterio, Dean gets bonus points for introducing the world of WCW to Rey Mysterio as his first opponent. At the Great American Bash in 1996, Mysterio made his WCW debut in a Cruiserweight Championship match, and after showing off the kind of chemistry that they had in that match, WCW was forced to run that back the very next night so even more people could witness such a performance on Nitro before Dean and Rey would go on to have 4 more matches together before the end of 1996, including 2 more on pay-per-view. Rey Mysterio in the 90s was an anomaly, and it is a marvel to see what he was able to do before countless surgeries took a toll on his body. And if you want to see him the same way that US audiences saw him for the very first time, you have to study his matches with Dean Malenko, one of the most important wrestlers in all of Mysterio's career. Number 4, Chris Jericho.
Absolutely. Another great rivalry. Jericho is and something special. This rivalry Jericho is something special. Freaking the mask thing, and of course this was serious suit wearing Jericho, so it made him Jericho's of course the most obnoxious of pricks. It works perfectly.
You may think that in the era of WCW that saw Chris Jericho mixing it up over the Cruiserweight title with the likes of the names already on this list, that we may have seen more of Jericho and Mysterio in the ring together at that time, but truth be told, audiences had to wait until 2009 for a proper rivalry between the two, but thankfully, it was absolutely worth waiting for. 2009 was a banner year for the Intercontinental Championship in WWE with loads of great matches on pay-per-view, but it was made that way by established top stars fighting over it like their lives depended on it. This was the peak of Chris Jericho's career as a character, as his honest man persona won him back-to-back Wrestler of the Year awards in 2008 and 2009, but this feud somehow followed Jericho's legendary rivalry with Shawn Michaels and improved upon his character. Now just a bully that wanted to take Rey's mask from him just for the sake of taking it, Jericho and Mysterio had brilliant matches at Judgment Day, Extreme Rules, and finally and most legendarily, The Bash, where Rey won back the IC title in one of the best matches of the year, duping Jericho by wearing a second mask in one of the best finishes of one of the best matches of the whole year. It may have been a decade-and-a-half long wait, but my God, was it worth it. Number 3, Kurt Angle.
I disagree. They had one good thing at SummerSlam 2002, but I don't think the rivalry was like great. I think this is a bit of a stretch to have him so high on this list.
Prior to SummerSlam 2002, Kurt Angle was approached by creative with 3 options for who he would like to work with. Fresh out of OVW, John Cena, fresh out of WCW, Ric Flair, or Rey Mysterio. Thankfully for all our sakes, Kurt picked Rey. Considering just a few years earlier, the folks in WCW avoided working with cruiserweights like touching them would give them smallpox, the pox that makes you small, Kurt saw what a tremendous talent Rey Mysterio was, and it gave us one of the best opening matches in WWE history. In addition to their spot in the SummerSlam Hall of Fame, Angle and Mysterio were integral members of the SmackDown 6, having maybe the best WWE tag team match ever at No Mercy, before they would become intertwined again years later in Rey's first ever world title win at WrestleMania 22. Rey Mysterio has always been an undeniable talent, but would he have been able to make it to the heights that he was at in WWE without Kurt Angle's endorsement? We'll never know, but we'll always be grateful. Number 2, Psychosis.
100%, and number 1 is Eddie, because of course it's fucking Eddie. There's no one else it could be but Eddie. Psychosis and Rey. Yeah. An epic feud. Number 1 is untouchable, though.
When people think of Bash at the Beach 96, they think of the formation of the NWO, as they should, one of the biggest and most successful angles of all time. But when we went back and watched it for WrestleTalk Extra, the thing we were most blown away by was the opening match between Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. This was the best in-ring match in North America in 1996, and it would be the best match on most episodes of AEW Dynamite today, even with Bobby Heenan impatiently waiting for the quote-unquote real wrestling to start. That was what Rey Mysterio and Psychosis were bringing to the table in the mid-90s, even if the people in the crowd and behind the announce desk didn't quite know what they were seeing in WCW. Wherever Rey Mysterio was in the 90s, Psychosis wasn't far behind, whether it was the United States, Mexico, or Japan, and no matter what country they were in, they were having the best matches of each other's careers. Psychosis was a perfect base for the even smaller Mysterio to fly around, and together they created magic. But while they may have been the best possible opponents for one another, the title of Mysterio's greatest rival has to go to number 1, Eddie Guerrero.
It never, ever was going to be anyone else but Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero was always going to be number 1. They have had amazing rivalries. The rivalry in 05 is incredible. The rivalry in the 90s, 97 I believe, incredible. It's untouchable. Eddie Guerrero is the greatest rival Rey Mysterio will ever have.
Guerrero. Not only did Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio have arguably the best match in WCW history at Halloween Havoc 1997, not only did Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio have one of the best WrestleMania opening matches ever in 2005, not only did they have the SmackDown 6 connection and a tag title reign as partners, but they also had a match over the custody of a child. If that doesn't say greatest rival, I don't know what does. The 2005 rivalry of Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero is one of the most legendary in WWE history, due in no small part to the WrestleMania opener and the Dirty Dom ladder match, but the rivalry that spanned over 6 months was one of the biggest highlights of SmackDown that year. It was the most soap opera nonsense storyline WWE may have ever done, but sometimes that's okay, especially when it's interspliced with fabulous matches. In a perfect world, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio would have inducted one another into the WWE Hall of Fame, where they could continue to be intertwined for the rest of history as the greatest rivals either man had ever had. And that's our list.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this reaction video. Let me know who you think the greatest rivalry of Rey Mysterio's career is in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.